rookies reporting to Seahawks camp. So let's find out what our crew is most looking forward to as we head into the NFL offseason. We bring in Andrew Hawkins, Dominique Foxworth. Hawk, what are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to seeing if Kyler Murray can be the next Sam Darnold and resurrect his career like the reigning Super Bowl champ did a couple seasons ago by being with the right coach, being in the right scheme, throwing to the most skilled wide receiver in all of football. He'll be a part of the best roster he ever has been in his career. Can he make it matter?
Okay. Neek, Dominique Foxworth, what are you looking for?
Travis Hunter, he was one of the most impressive, but I think we're going to Harry Douglas in Atlanta.
It's
looking
okay,
out for that
Neek.
quarterback
I'll
battle
pick up
that they
right
got happening
behind
down
you.
there.
I'm going to go with Tua at the quarterback position and also Michael Penix Jr. Who's going to win this quarterback battle between these two? What I do love about both of these guys is that they have the skill position players. They don't have to do anything remarkable. Just be a passer, be a point guard, deliver the football to Kyle Pitts, to Drake London, to Bijan Robinson, and everybody else that they have in the skill position area down there in Atlanta. So those two quarterbacks, who's going to win that job right now? Tua's in the league.
Okay, Neek, what do you got?
Yeah, I am not looking forward to that quarterback battle down in Atlanta. That's on Harry. I'm looking forward to Travis Hunter balling at cornerback. The athleticism and talent that we saw out of him, and we saw it kind of not come fully to fruition because of him playing both sides of the ball in the injury. But this year it seems like they're going to at least let him focus on corner at first, and I'm really looking forward. He has the ability and the talent, I think, to be one of the best in football. He made a bunch of plays at corner last year, but now I want to see him in a full healthy season be able to do it. But I want to see him in training camp really lock in on that position and take over.
Okay, those are three storylines, but let's go to some news from yesterday and turn our attention to the Dallas Cowboys. The deadline came and went for teams to sign their franchise tag players to multi-year deals. That means George Pickens will officially be playing this season in Dallas on a $27.3 million tag. Yesterday on Get Up, our Louis Riddick spoke on Pickens' future with the Cowboys.
To me, this sounds like a situation that is setting up for 2026 to be George's last season. George that last season in Dallas, George kind of realizes that, and that's why he said, hey, look, you know what, I'm going to sign a tender going here and just kind of rip it up this year and then let the chips fall where they may in the offseason in 27. There's really no other way to look at it.
Pickens is entering the prime of his career. He is a star wide receiver. He was voted as one of the top 10 in the league by league executives, and yet there's Louis saying it looks like it's the last year in Dallas. Dominique Foxworth, your reaction to that thought as he enters this year on the tag?
Yeah, I think that's probably right. He's going to be in a contract year playing for potentially a number one spot on some other team where he's going to get a huge contract if he plays like he did last year. But it's not completely out of the question that they decide to keep him. I think it's unlikely, but they could. The only way that works out is if you draft well, and Dallas has a reputation. They have for several years now of actually drafting well and getting great players for cheap at different positions. So I think there's a lot riding on this season for George Pickens and a decision for the Cowboys to make at the end of the year.
Hawk, nobody knows George Pickens better than the Dallas Cowboys, who had him for a year, and yet they opted not to give him a long-term deal. What can he do himself to maybe say, hey, I am worth the big money, and I want to stay here as a Cowboy. Pay me what I'm worth in the market value?
I think what you said is perfect, because I would argue that maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin know him a little bit more than the Dallas Cowboys because they've seen him over a longer period of time. And what George Pickens has to prove is that what they saw last year is the new George Pickens. And he can do that by duplicating what he did last year, both on the field when he's getting the ball. Can he do it twice? Also, how he plays consistently with effort away from getting the ball in the moments where he's not the guy or that CD is in the lineup or he's the number one guy. And then beyond that, as he continues, whether in Dallas or somewhere else, can he prove that he can do it without a solidified number two and prove that he's going to do it after he makes 9 figures? Now, I know you get on a podcast and all athletes would have you to believe $100 million is not that much money, but I promise you it is. And once he gets it, can he still be the exact same player and continue to improve upon what he's shown in Dallas?
It has become like it's what's your best locker room story, and then tell us how $100 million is not enough to live on. It has become the conversation topic of the summer. Harry, I ask you, with both these guys here now in the present, Is this Dak's best chance to actually get over the hump and be a winning quarterback in the NFL, take him maybe even to the Super Bowl?
I believe it is. This is an opportunity, and if you're Dak Prescott, you have to cash in while you have both of these two guys who are 1A and 1B. I think this offense has an opportunity to be the best offense in the league. When you have CeeDee Lamb, you have George Pickens, you have Ferguson, and the run game was top 10 as well last season, they're going to be better defensively. If they were dog crap last year at the bottom of the league from a defensive standpoint, Christian Parker coming over, I believe he's going to have them in the middle of the pack or even better. You have a lot of talent on that side of the football. But if you're Dak Prescott, you say to yourself, this is our opportunity that we have to cash in. When you look at the NFC East, I believe all 4 teams could win the NFC East.
Yep.
So this is the perfect opportunity, in my opinion, for Dak Prescott. But you don't want to squander that opportunity because most likely you're not going to have George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb next year. So you want to cash in and take advantage of this situation while you have it right here in your hands.
Dominique, I thought Harry's analysis was good when he said they were dog crap on defense. They were terrible last year, but they've done a lot in the offseason. Have they done enough to maybe get them up to par with some of these other teams in the NFC?
Yeah, absolutely think so. And I think it starts with the coach. They're going to go into a more cover 4 Fangio style of defense. And I think adding the weapons up front, I think will improve their defense, the ability to stop the run. Like, that's where it all starts on defense for everyone. You have to stop the run first before you do anything else. I think that's going to be their focal point in training camp, is figuring out how they can consistently stop the run and then build from there. And it's a huge help having the offense that they do with Dak Prescott. If they can be explosive early and put their opponent on their heels and play from a deficit, they'll be much better on defense this year than they were last year.
Hawk, you played wide out in this league for many years. You look at it from the George Pickens angle of it. Is this a liberating thing? Like, hey, I'm on a 1-year deal basically with these guys. Let's just go ball out and do it. Or is there pressure now to perform knowing that he has to do it on film all over again?
It's somewhere in the middle. Listen, he's going to make more money this season than he has in totality in his life. So that's why he's okay with signing the franchise tag. Let me get this $27 million out the way, go do what I do, and then go get the 9 figures we talked about. So absolutely there's pressure, but more it's a relief to say, whew, at least I made a bunch of money, and no matter what happens, I'll walk away with $27 million.
No doubt. Coming up, we're going to talk plenty more wide receivers because the top 10 wide receivers in the national championship game to Indiana. 9 different Miami players were selected in the NFL draft, the most for the program since 2017. Head coach Mario Cristobal spoke yesterday about replacing the core of a squad that got all the way to the title game.
In 2022, when we first recruited those guys, we didn't say much because we weren't winning many games. And I think now that we are getting better and progressing, it's probably time to say less. Not time to predict prognostications and all that stuff. We just would like to keep our mouths shut and go outside and work and get better and represent our program to the best of our abilities.
If you were expecting Cristobal to come out and predict the national title, you don't know Mario Cristobal. That's not his way. We bring in Heather Dinich, we bring in Greg McElroy, and of course we've got Harry Douglas here. Greg, I want to start with you. A lot of hype about Miami right now. As much as he's playing it down, is there a chance that Miami could be even better than they were last year, even though they lose 9 players from that core?
Well, amazingly, I mean, we're talking about a team that could be better, that played for a national championship. Think about that. It's only like 1 step to go up that ladder, right? So we have to kind of take into account. Here's why I like them a lot. I mean, last year they were the last team in. They were the 10 seed. They got hot in the playoff, and everyone remembers the performance that we saw in the final 3 or 4 games against A&M, Ohio State, Ole Miss, and then, of course, Indiana. This year they're not sneaking in. I mean, Vegas thinks they're winning 10.5. You look at the portal class. You look at Malachi Toney, superstar freshman wide receiver, had 109 catches last year. The schedule also sets up for him pretty well. They do have to go to Notre Dame. That's really the only ranked team they might see before the playoffs. So can this team be better? Yes, because I think the ACC behind them has maybe collectively taken a step back, and I think they have a chance to be more explosive, Heather, offensively, which might lead to more wins as well.
Heather, what do you make of it? Could this team be even better than they were a year ago?
Well, they should want to be better than they were a year ago because they lost to SMU and Louisville. And if they're going to take the next step, they've got to win those types of close games. And they're not going to play SMU during the regular season, but they might see them in the ACC championship game. And guys, Kevin Jennings is pretty darn good. And his numbers right now are better than Fernando Mendoza's were at this time. Nobody was talking about him either. I want to go back to the schedule for a minute because I think that game at Clemson is going to be trickier than most people are giving it credit for. If that team's not better, I'll be shocked. And then, yes, at Notre Dame, everyone has that scheduled, circled on the schedule. I went to South Bend. They are calling it a revenge tour this season. I've got Notre Dame winning that game. So, Miami's got to get better in the trenches after losing NFL-sized talent up there. But I agree with Greg. That offense is going to be so fun and so spectacular to watch.
I think of Miami last year was really a team that was built in the trenches, though. And you had Spence on defense, and of course, you had Ruben Bain, and then you had the big tackle who's now with the Giants, Maui. I look to you, Harry Douglas. We talk about Tony and all the skill positions, and we're going to get to the quarterback. Can they replace the talent they lost in the trenches?
Well, that's the big question right now. And when you look at Akeem Messidor and what he meant defensively, and also Ruben Bain Jr., those guys not only sacked the quarterback, they played the run very, very well. So can that new wave of guys that are coming in for the Miami Hurricanes, can they consistently, under Corey Heatherman as a defensive coordinator, can those guys be, an every down player? Not just going to sack the quarterback. And then when you look offensively, it was Markel Bell that they lost, who was a big offensive tackle. It was Francis Mauigoa, like you mentioned, who's now with the New York Giants. But what I love about Mario Cristobal at any team that he is coaching, he played an offensive line position, right? So the trenches is his baby. That's one thing that I feel like they're going to get right. But those two games on the road, like Heather mentioned, at Clemson and at Notre Dame, those games are very, very tricky. And like Heather mentioned also, I think Louisville and I think SMU have an opportunity to win the ACC, and those are the two teams that actually beat Miami in the regular season a year ago.
Greg, you're our resident quarterback here. Carson Beck got there last year, had a dream season, took him the distance. This year it's Darian Mensah, the transfer portal student from Duke. What do we make of him, and is that potentially an upgrade from Carson Beck, who had an outstanding year last year?
Well, first of all, Pete, I think Beck's really underrated. But in some areas, Mensah is absolutely an upgrade, especially on some of the downfield throws and throws into tight windows. If you just look at how he's graded out over the course of his career, throws on 20-plus yards, Mensah's up in the top category in college football. You look at 19 touchdowns against 2 picks. Beck is back, in kind of the 20s, 25 range. On the intermediate stuff, 10 to 19 yards. Mensah's in the top 10. Beck's in the top, in kind of the low teens. So a pretty significant jump up. And the thing that makes it even more remarkable is Mensah did it with protection that was spotty at times. At Duke, look, his pocket wasn't clean very often, whereas Beck could sit back there all day behind Francis Mauigoa, the New York Giant, and be completely fine. So look, Beck was great, led the ACC in passer rating and completion percentage, but that was partly because he was a bit of a dink and dunk guy, getting it out fast and getting it out close to the line of scrimmage. Mensah's a little bit more aggressive, which could open up this offense and actually make them more dangerous down the field when you marry it up with the run game led by Mark Fletcher, the outstanding running back.
All right, guys, this is great. We're going to talk plenty more college football, including more on the ACC and the state of Florida with those 3 major programs where they're at. But coming up, Messi's magic, Argentina's comeback, and of course, England's heartbreak. We're going to break it all down, how one unforgettable game shaped the World Cup in 2026.